God of the universe, maker of the stars, who am I that you would know my name, that the maker of the world cares for me.
Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Life on Purpose with Daniel Clayton and Mike Clayton.
Yeah.
And this is great. We're always happy to be here. It's almost like it just keeps going, you know?
Yeah, episode after episode, and we always find something to say. I hope you've got something to say.
I do have something to start with. We're just going to kind of be talking a little bit, hopefully some practical stuff on just walking it out.
Yeah.
And, I can't remember exactly how we ended the last episode, but it was something regarding, we were talking about differences. Your interpretation of things, your walk is going to be different than mine, and that's okay. And the thing is, find one family on the earth, on the entire planet, 8 billion people. Find me one family that all of the children are exactly the same.
It is not ours, and it's not yours.
See, I knew that, but it's funny still.
Yeah.
The family doesn't exist.
No.
Like we were talking about the individuality, you are as unique as your fingerprint, and every single person on the planet is like that. There is no family that there are two children. There might be twins, but they're still different people. They still have individual fingerprints, and they still have individual personalities. And I think that one of the worst things that I don't think that the concept of denominations are bad. The bad part is that they put emphasis on their differences, and they separated fellowship. And denominations as an easy target, but we all do this. Messianic congregations do this.
It's all over.
But
society, But I'm part of this club because I'm not a part of that club.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The sad part is not that they have differences. The sad part is that they separated fellowship because of their differences. And in truth, we are supposed to walk after our Messiah. We're supposed to run after Him, run after the Father. And in the meantime, you look around and there's people with you doing the same thing. If you are running after the Master, and I am running after our Master, and our families are, and our friends and our congregation members, He's the thing that matters. He is the unifying force between all of us, and it shouldn't matter the minute differences. There are some parts of this book and some things that we believe that are non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeshua is number one, but even, this might offend some people. Even the Torah.
That's something I try to never do.
Yeah. Even strictly the observance of the Torah should not prevent you from walking with someone. And even we talk about, our Jewish brothers and sisters. Like, there are some differences there there's a lot of, minute details we'd have to go into there. So please don't read into too much there. But, walking toward our God and our Father, and then looking around and seeing people that love Him like we do and are running after Him in their understanding, just as we are. That is, I think, how we unify the differences between us, is just by, if He is number one, then, the way you tie your tzitzit don't matter to me.
Yeah, and no doubt. I mean, it's like, a mutual friend of ours, Udi Marotz in Israel, taught me this, that out of the book of Amos, it says, how can two walk together unless they be agreed? It's not actually what it says. It's how can two walk together unless they be destined, unless they have a common destination.
Almost like, where are we going?
Yeah.
I think we talked about that at one point.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't want to sound real crass with this one, but I'm going to. Any two idiots can walk together if they agree on everything, okay? But if I have somebody in my life and we agree on everything, then one of us is not needed, because one of us has quit learning. And so accepting growth, accepting our differences. We look at the 12 tribes. Last week's, or as this has been recorded, last week's Torah portion, it was about the 12 tribes. You have 12 boys that became 12 tribes They were encamped around the tabernacle. And if you look at the words given to them by Jacob in the book of Genesis and the blessings given by Moses over in Deuteronomy, these guys are all different. And so some were on this side of the tabernacle, some were on this side of the tabernacle, and the only thing that was going to keep them from fighting was going to be the glory of God in their midst, okay? Because Asher and Gad are different people. Their makeup, the way they look at life is totally different. So embracing differences instead of separating over differences. That's called marriage, I think. I don't know about you and Casey, but there's been times in almost 42 years now that me and your mom haven't quite seen eye to eye, but we keep walking it out and we embrace the differences. We learn from the differences, and hopefully in the end, God gets the glory in the midst of those differences. So yeah, I'm all over that. So it kind of brings up something that you and I have talked about this recently as a couple days ago, that you and Catesby are now kind of going back and saying, okay, you had the way that we did Shabbat when you were growing up. Catesby had the way she did Shabbat, her family did Shabbat when she was growing up. And now you guys are kind of molding this thing into you. It's wow, you're owning it. And that may look different. And so if I go over to your house for Shabbat and you're doing things a little different than I did, I shouldn't be like, Daniel, this is not what I taught you. I should be able to look at you and go, hey, that's a pretty good idea. Explain that to me. How did you come to that? Why did you come to that place? What are you trying to express in this? And it may be that I'm the one that's going to grow in the process of that. Because it said that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. The truth is, the best dog to teach tricks to is an old dog that's always learned all their lives. So we should be living our lives in such a way that God's always able to teach us, no matter where we are in life.
Yeah, amen. And it's really a big thing, the recognizing, because I've literally heard of congregations that have split over. One portion of them wanted to have a kosher kitchen of having 2 sinks, and the other one didn't see it as necessary.
Yeah.
To break fellowship over that small of a thing, surely there was a solution somewhere in there to where you could keep your eyes on Yeshua and keep your eyes on the bigger things and know that, being together is better than being apart. And so, but if you're not secure in your relationship with the Father,
now you've gone and stepped into it.
I've done it.
Yeah,
if you're not secure with your relationship with the Father, then your identity is going to be in your interpretation of things.
Yeah.
Your identity is going to be in how you do it, not in who you do it for.
Yeah.
If your identity is in who, then you aren't affected, you're not offended, and you're not offensive to other people who do it differently. And recognize that we're talking right now specifically about between believer and believer, or Torah follower and Torah follower. We're not necessarily talking about outside of that right now. But we just talk about identity, and that is, it is such a big part of it, because how you identify yourself and which camp you identify yourself with just affects everything. It affects everything you do.
Well, if the only answer, somebody says to you, the UPS guy comes to your door and they see your mezuzah on your doorpost and they say, what is that? And you say, well, it's something somebody told me to put up on the doorpost. Boy, that's a great witness. They're going to be like, wow, okay, great, see ya. You got another package coming next week. But instead, if you say, well, this is something that I've learned through the scripture, and this is an expression of my love for God, an expression to show other people that come to the door like you about my relationship with Him and the difference that there should be and I'm striving for when someone comes into my home, and a difference in which and our family lives inside this home. And so this mezuzah, which has the scriptures written on it, is actually a statement of those around of what is inside of this house. And they're like, maybe I can find a package to bring back to you tomorrow so you can tell me a little bit more. So all of our expressions hopefully are going to grow through the years. My expressions have changed. I mean, I've been doing this for well over 20 years now, and the expressions that I use have changed through the years. That's called growing. That's called living. The day that you and I do not change is the day that we stopped living. Now, I didn't say that we're not still alive, because there's a lot of people that are still alive but are not living because they refuse to change. Mm-hmm. They're just waiting to be buried. They've already died, but they're just waiting for their body to catch up with their attitude so that, they can be put somewhere, 2 dates and a dash kind of thing. So let's be open to change, but making sure that the change lines up with this book. Mm-hmm. That brings me to something that we talked about as we began this whole program about the forgotten generation, mm-hmm. and how you grew up with Y2K and the Doomsday of the Year Club kind of thing. Now, to give the other side of that, I know you and Catesby, even though you have young children, ranging from ages 6 to 4 months now, something like that. You guys, when you pray for His kingdom to come, it's something that you're really praying for. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what it all comes down to? It comes down to your heart posture and your motivation and why you're doing what you do. Because, looking back, it wasn't a bad thing. I believe that somewhere at the heart of the Doomsday of the Year Club was the desire to see Scripture fulfilled. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I do believe that was the motivation and the heart behind it. It was the practice that lacked some things. And as I look back to maybe some of the things that could have been done differently, but also trying to strip it down and see what the heart was. Just take the good, take the bad, try to get rid of the bad, and mm-hmm. apply the good. As I look at it today, I have a great life. I have a wonderful wife. I have wonderful children. I have my own business. God has blessed me tremendously far beyond anything that I deserve. And, I think that this world He created is beautiful and it is wonderful. And, I have plans and, vision for my future. And Catesby and I, we talk about our vision for the future and how we, see things playing out and what we want to do and accomplish. I would give all of it away in a second for Yeshua and for Him to come back. And at this point, you're the one that boiled it down to a one-liner like you're so good at. It's not about the doomsday clock, it's about the kingdom clock.
Yeah.
The focus used to be on, unintentionally, the world is ending. At the heart of it was Yeshua's coming back, but it came across as the world's ending, the tribulation is starting, tribulation this. It should be our Messiah mm-hmm. is returning for us. Mm-hmm. The kingdom is coming. The kingdom is near. The kingdom is at hand. Our Messiah, our beloved, is at he's coming. Falling in love with our God, with our Creator, with our Father. That love for Him just makes me, the second He comes back, or there's the signs. It's like, throw my future to the side. I don't care about it anymore. My future is the kingdom. Yeah. And so, but it is a hard balance to find.
Oh, yeah.
Of living in today and investing in today. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people went broke around that time because they sold all they had and they bought, big nuclear bunkers and, just put all their and it's seriously though. We know people.
I know people that destroyed their life.
It was a perception of what was about to happen, and it affected their today in a way that stole their tomorrow when they turned out to be wrong in that case. And so trying to figure out how to live today, how to invest in today, and how to try to make this current world a better place tomorrow, and yet still having the mind to put all of it away in an instant it's harder, easier said than done.
Yeah, well, Yeshua said, greater love has no man than to lay down his life for his friends. That also goes in our relationship with him. So what you're describing to me is you have prayed, you have invested in your life being glorifying to him, how you'd like to walk that out. But at any moment, hey, if I need to lay my life down here so that I can embrace your dream. This whole thing about Revelation chapter 21, we are a part of his dream. We're a dream within his dream. And so the greatest act of worship in the midst of that would be to lay down our dream in order to enter into his dream. And that is let's face it, if we're reading this book correctly, whether it be this generation, the next generation, the rising generation, the wherever generation, there is a generation of people who are following the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, have faith in Yeshua, that will not get married. Though they want to. There's a generation that will not have children. There's a generation that will not raise grandchildren. I don't know what that generation is, but there's going to be a generation. But my counsel to people to young people is this, lay hold of your dreams. Make sure they're part of his. But at any moment in time, understand that you may be that generation that offers up the ultimate worship of not seeing your desires fulfilled, but you see his desires fulfilled. And please, if there's anything you could take from me in everything that we've said in these programs so far, don't ever let the enemy or anybody else, friends, family, whatever, don't ever let the enemy trick you into believing the lie that if that is you, if that is your generation that doesn't get married and have children, there's never going to be a moment in the kingdom that you're going to look back and say, wow, I sure wish I'd have been born at a different time. No, because his sufficiency is going to be so overwhelming. His love is going to be so overwhelming that whatever you thought that you're giving up, you're like, compared to this, I'll take this any day of the week. Yeah. Or any millennium of whatever, okay.
And one of the practical ways to do this is, we talk about where we're going. We're going to the kingdom. The kingdom should be the underlying, the common denominator in everything we're doing. So if we are living today, if we are pursuing our dreams that he has put inside of us today, and all this stuff, if we are simultaneously turning those back to him and saying, these are the things I believe you've laid on my heart. I want to do these things. I want to accomplish this through them, but all for your glory. Then, he's already laced into it. And if he's already laced into it, then when it comes time that he asks for it back, or he says, hey, it's time to put that down, it makes it easier because he's already there. He's already built into the foundation of the things that you have built after he's put it into you.
And your eyes on the kingdom, it really brings life into perspective. It's that Selah thing. And I do spend time, and I've taught with the young people. You were many years ago, I taught on the millennium. And I I used to spend a lot of time, what a friend of mine calls windshield time. And that's where I go to a place. Daniel said to me yesterday in the car, he says, "You do have a nothing box." And I said, "Yeah, except for I multitask in it." So I just kind of let my mind wander about things the millennium is going to be. You know, the scripture says that the lion will lay down with the lamb, and a young child will play at the hole where a snake's den is, or whatever. You know, I'm probably going to have a pet lion. I think it'd be really cool to get on the floor and wrestle with something that's not wanting to eat you. You know, I look forward to the day that I go to a restaurant and I don't have to ask if the tamales have pork in them, you know, or is the refried beans, does it have lard? I look forward to bringing my offering to Messiah in Israel. You know, a literal temple is built, and he is ruling and reigning, and we get to come and bring those things to him. And I mean, to consider that your children, and I don't, this is, maybe for some people it's like, oh, that's kind of far-fetched. Not for me in the way that I think, and it works good for me, I don't know. But to think that your children may be the first children raised in the kingdom, the first generation. You know, you were talked about earlier how you have a couple of memories of, you know, the lobster and the little tiny tree. Your children don't even know what that is. Mm-hmm. They're raised at a level that you weren't raised at. What could that possibly mean for future generations to come if we give this lifestyle and the one that we're living it for, if we give that over to the next rising generation? Mm-hmm. You got a verse?
Yeah, you know, it's important to tie in what we're tying in of, you know, whatever it is today, also live for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But as much as you live for tomorrow, you also have to live for today. Yeah. So if you go to this verse, you know, or this chapter of Jeremiah 29, verse 11, which we quote all the time, mm-hmm. of, you know, I know the plans I have for you. You know, the context of that is the Babylonian exile. Yeah. And, you know, I've heard people make the argument, oh, you can't use that because it's out of context. But, I mean, we're kind of in exile from the kingdom and eternity right now, so I think it works okay.
Well, context is Genesis to maps and, okay, so. Yeah.
To modern day. Yeah. Anyway, so, but if you rewind a few verses, you know, in Jeremiah 29, verse 4, still talking to the exiles in Babylon. Here's what Adonai Tzvaot, the God of Israel, says to all those in exile, whom I have caused to be carried off captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build yourself houses and live in them. Plant gardens and eat what they produce. Choose women to marry, have sons and daughters, and, you know, increase your numbers there. Don't decrease. Seek the welfare of the city to which I have caused you to go into exile, and pray to Adonai on its behalf. For your welfare is bound up in its welfare. So as important as it is to, you know, live for tomorrow, live for the kingdom to come, it's also equally as important to live today. Because it, you know, I believe that this applies to us today. We need to be seeking the welfare of where, essentially, grow where you are planted. Yeah. We live in this earth today. We have been planted where we are. We have been put here for such a time as this. And if we are only focusing on eternity and neglecting today, then I think it is just as neglectful than, you know, doing the opposite, you know, mm-hmm. living only for today and not the eternity. Because if you're only living for eternity, you're not going to be as much of a benefit to anyone today. And we are here to be a light and a bright, shining light, mm-hmm. A place where people can go and find rest and find answers and find somewhere to redirect them to God. It is just as important to grow where you are planted, to seek the welfare, to, you know, build businesses, build this kind of thing, you know, have an effect, you know, because otherwise you run the risk of becoming irrelevant. Mm-hmm.
I mean, those that we're talking to, young adults, young people, you have an opportunity to enter into a relationship with the Creator. Okay, if you have never done that before, I challenge you. You can call HRN. HRN if you want. They'll give you my number, Daniel's number, whatever we got to do to help you in that. Go to your parents. Go to the staff at your congregation. Find somebody that you can look to and say, I think that person knows what they're talking about. And go to them, ask them questions, have them have them help you begin this process that he becomes your God, not just, I don't know, he needs to be your God. And so make sure that part is settled. As you do that, begin to walk it out. Begin to walk this wonderful life out. But, this balance thing, when we were together, I was teaching a preparedness class, and I just think I was a Boy Scout, and our motto was be prepared. So that kind of, came over into the rest of my life. But I coined a phrase in storing food, don't forget to cook breakfast. I think that's just common sense. There was a society many years ago that got themselves so enamored with what was going to happen that they forgot to cook breakfast and all of them died. But the opposite side of that is getting so enamored on today that we lose hope for the future. Mm-hmm. And when we lose hope for the future, we lose hope for today. Mm-hmm. And that's where depression and all of these abuses and all these things, and that's where when we don't have a hope of the future, we don't live our life on purpose, and we begin to abuse our life because we do not know the purpose for our life.
Mm-hmm. And as humans, I think we tend toward the pendulum. We kind of swing from one side to the other, and it's very hard to just kind of land right there in the middle. But the drum that I've been beating, that I will continue to beat forever, is that there is no formula to this. There is no exact formula to how you're supposed to find out what you're supposed to do today and all this kind of stuff. I mean, the formula is just your Creator.
Yeah.
Like to walk with Him, to spend time with Him, to read this book that He has given to us. Like, we're saying really simple stuff here. Yeah. We're not diving into the Sod level Torah stuff that's like, what's the layer that's underneath the layer of that one. We're stripping down to real simple here. And it is, if your relationship with your Creator stems from the time that you put into Him, and that time is generally well spent in the Word, in prayer, in silence with Him, just silencing the distractions of the world and the noise. Mm-hmm. If you're the kind of person that always has to have music in the background with whatever you're doing, turn it off.
Yeah.
Embrace the silence with your Creator, because it is not until you do that you will start to hear His voice. And it's not until you hear His voice that you will start to act on what He tells you to do as you hear His voice. And that is the formula. That is how you know what you're supposed to do today, which will prepare you for tomorrow. If you do that, you never have to worry about tomorrow, because He is going to equip you with what you need today.
We're using the word Creator. I truly believe that those who are closest to the Creator should be the most creative people on this earth. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get creative in your life, get close to the Creator. I mean, He's the one. Look outside. Look at what He created. He does a pretty good job of it. He's pretty amazing. I would even use the word awesome here. And so consider that the creativity that He created the earth with is available to flow through you. What an amazing thing that is. How do we do this? It's quick, very easy. Begin to pray. If you don't have a hard copy of this, it's called the Scriptures, the Bible. If you don't have a hard copy, I challenge you to go out and buy one. Put the phone down, put the electronics down, and have one that you can make your own, that has your marks in it, your little notes in there, that you can then pass on to another generation. And, quickly, if something was to happen to me that I was not able to be around for your children to grow up, they could take this book, because of the notes and the Scriptures and everything, they could take this book and find out who their Grandpa Sir is. Mm-hmm. Because It's right here, available. So with that,
If you haven't yet, then please start
yeah,
to live your life on purpose, because you have a God who created you. He told you where you came from. He has placed something inside of you. He has given you the means to use it for the good of everything around you. And He has placed a desire for you in His kingdom to go to. So live your life on purpose with intentionality and walk toward Him with all your heart.
and if you need anything, please call HRN. They'd be glad to give you our information. We'd love to talk with you.
Who am I that you would know my name? That the maker